lending is manufacturing. You're just manufacturing loans. You're not manufacturing a physical product, but your inputs and your data that you're ingesting to be able to give a loan, it's no different than raw materials you use to make a product.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by Terraleap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm excited to be joined by my guest, Vladimir Kovacevic, who's based in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. He's the founder and CEO at Inovatec Systems. Welcome, Vlad. Good to have you on.
Thanks, Alex. Good to be here.
Now, Inovatec Systems is a loan management and a loan origination software for the automotive industry. Can you just lay out the problem, though, that you originally saw and set out to solve?
Yeah, it's one of those industries that's very niche and very specific, not something that most people even think about. It just kind of happens behind the scenes. But the reality is that we all need cars and vehicles, and it's something that we go through multiple times in our lives, and we all expect the process to be simple and easy. And so for things to be simple and easy, you need to have good technology behind the scenes. And that's the problem we ran into when we first started in Inovatec. Is we realized just through, and I'll probably get into that in more detail later, but we realized that a lot of the lenders are using very manual processes, not very scalable and not very organized management of data. And we all know today how important data is and how big of a role it can play in business process automation. So essentially what we saw was a process that was done manually that could be automated and done through a better data and process management.
So I agree. This is not a topic or industry people think about like, oh, wow, I think about that every day. That's so fascinating, but it's one that's needed. And we'll come back to the technology and the usage of it. But you also have a fascinating history and story. And that's why I'd like to hear. You didn't start in Canada. Let's go back. Like, where did you begin? Where'd you grow up? And how did you get to where you are today?
So I grew up in Serbia, and it was one of those, just timing it would have it such that when I was just in my early teens, the former Yugoslavia fell apart, and there was a lot of conflict and uncertainty. And so growing out through the 90s in the Balkans, like it was, to say the least, chaotic. So it creates a bit of a unique experiences that you go through. And then, these experiences kind of shape who we are and how we think about things and how we see problems and how we solve those problems. So in 99, I had a chance to move over to US. My wife at that time, girlfriend, but future wife, was already in US, and she got a scholarship to play basketball in the States. So that's kind of how she got out, and then she helped me figure out a path. Right, pull me exactly.
So I'm curious, did your girlfriend at the time, now wife, did she say, "Well, I'm going to America. I'll see you later," or was there plans to come back, or were your plans always to get over here?
We always talked about finding a way to kind of get there together, but it's not something that's easy to execute, especially when you're 17 and have no money. There's challenges that are very, very difficult to overcome, but ultimately we found a way. She figured out how she can get me a scholarship and how we can get all of the schooling that I've done in Serbia, including the university, go through a process of translating all that, getting credits for it, so that we can actually continue the school and get the scholarship based on that. So it worked out well, and we found ourselves in early 2000 in Louisiana. And so, went to school there for 2 years at McNeese State in Lake Charles. And then, Daniela, my wife, in the meantime, we got married and everything. And she got a job at Kodak in Oregon. And it's a very, very unique environment. It's a heavy manufacturing environment, like super automated. And this is really relevant for the whole story because, we got a chance to work at a place which was probably world-class, best in everything in terms of technology, data management, data automation, process automation, like super, super efficient. And it was really like a 24/7 nonstop production with high value product. It's X-ray imaging, it's medical imaging film, not your traditional camera film, because Kodak also made X-ray film. And as such, that product is, the quality is overseen by FDA because it's a medical device technically. So you can imagine the amount of scrutiny that goes into defect management, control of inputs and outputs. Like it's on a whole nother level in terms of many industries. And so, we lived in Oregon for I think until 2006. And then,
your wife got a job there first?
Yes, I was hoping you were not going to catch on that, but yes, she also got a job there first, and then found me a job there too.
She gets you into the U.S. and then she gets a great job and good team combo that you guys move forward in your life together.
It's a bit of a reoccurring theme,
But together, you both then moved to Oregon, and then you're working at Kodak for, you said, like
about 5 years or so.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then we really wanted to stay in the States, but it was very difficult from just the process wise to get the permanent residency and everything. There is a path you can do it, but it's very unpredictable in terms of how long it's going to take, what the outcome is going to be. A lot of things can change. So we ended up kind of trying to stabilize the situation and figure out what we can do. And we realized that, Canada has a program that we can apply for. And so we did and got the residency and moved to Vancouver in 2006.
Just a little bit more north.
That's right.
go up to Canada.
North, and here we are in Vancouver. And so it was it was a really interesting time because we had a chance sort of to regroup and rethink, what do we want to do? You're in a new country, you have an opportunity to kind of rethink what do we want to do for work. And one of the things that we said was, let's not jump into anything too quickly. Let's maybe do some consulting. Let's start with kind of understanding what the industries are here. It's a big city, there's a lot of opportunities. Let's meet some people and find how our skill set can be used either to find a really great full-time job or, grow the consulting business and do more. Because we were very confident, sort of based on our experience and what we've gone through at Kodak, that we had a very good sense of how business processes can be automated and to what level you can automate them, because what we worked on at Kodak was really on a high level. And so chance would have it that one of our first consulting clients who needed our help with data management was an auto finance lender. These people were essentially giving out loans, and what became obvious to both of us very, very quickly is that lending is manufacturing. You're just manufacturing loans. You're not manufacturing a physical product, but your inputs and your data that you're ingesting to be able to give a loan, it's no different than raw materials you use to make a product. And if you start to think of it from that perspective, that it's really just raw materials in, process it, do something with it, and output is a loan. And a loan of a certain quality and a certain, you have to make sure you're compliant, you're doing all the things right, you're ticking all the boxes along the way, and you're producing a product. Effectively, loan is a product that then performs for the next 3, 4, 5 years, however long that time period is. And once you start to think of it like that, like your view of the business really changes dramatically, because it's no longer an art, it becomes more of a science and how you can mechanize every step of the way. From start to finish. And ultimately it becomes an exercise of how much more data can we get up front? How can we process it better? How can we process it more automatically so that we're eliminating decision points and manual intervention to the point where, a lot of our clients today can do a full end-to-end process fully automatically.
So understanding that this pathway that you took, coming to the U.S., you go to then college, university, 1999, 2001, 2003, go to Kodak. You're working there for 3-5 years, an employee, and then you moved to Canada and decided to become consultants. So go from your first job and then consultants to then starting your own business. Was that just like seemed natural to you? Did you have any fear, or was it, oh yeah, no, we've got this?
You know what? I mean, I never thought of it from a perspective of fear. To me, it always felt that the worst case scenario, consulting doesn't work out, we'll get a full-time job somewhere. Like we were, young and had a lot of decent experience, good education. It seemed like it would be, maybe we didn't know where we would get a full-time job, but it didn't seem that we would have a hard time getting a full-time job. So it kind of felt that there was something to fall back onto. And like most entrepreneurs, when you're first starting, we got to be very good at sort of bootstrapping and making sure we don't overextend. So you're kind of, generating some revenue. But and I think this is the key, and this is where probably that path diverges easily, is if you start to use that extra revenue you're generating to better your lifestyle, then the business will never grow. Instead, what we've done is we've taken all the extra revenue, put it back in the business to add the first employee and the second and the third, and start to sort of grow a bit of a team. Because what ended up happening is that consulting was very short-lived, because people who we were trying to consult, they would tell us, okay, that all sounds great, but we don't know how to execute on that. So we're like, okay, well, they're sort of pushing you in a direction. Okay, we'll sort of transform from consulting to professional services. So not only will we tell you how you should fix this problem, we will actually help you fix the problem. And I think, honestly, it's just one of those things that evolves one step at a time. And yeah, there was a point in time probably when you get to have like 25, 30 employees, you're like, well, there really is no fallback from this.
A lot of people relying on you at that point.
Yeah.
So that transition from consulting to professional services, then to software, what was the timeline look like? 2006, you officially start consulting, is that right? And then what did that look like from there?
We never thought of it from we knew from day one that we wanted to have a product. Like, I think that's important. We realized immediately that, because our initial reaction to these companies was, why don't you just buy a better product that'll do this thing? And they're like, well, there isn't anything to buy. And so we're like, okay, I guess what this is leading to is us making a product. But we had enough understanding of the nature of what it takes to build a product to know that you can't just jump in and just build a product on day one. What we decided to do instead was focus on this one company that was really growing at the time, and they went, they had like in those 5 years they had about a 10x growth, and we helped them along the way. And all of the problems that they had to face, we got to solve from a technology perspective, one problem at a time. And so rather than building one giant system, we sort of built for them individual applications and point solutions that dealt with one individual thing at a time. But it exposed us to all aspects of the business, from credit review to income verification, funding processes, accounting, customer service, collections, like literally the whole spectrum, without ever having to build one big system. And it turns out, when you really add it up, it took 5 years to go through the learning of what it means to run that business and operate it. You're coming back to that 10,000 hours rule, and we weren't thinking about it. And I actually read the book way later, and then when I look back, I'm like, yeah, that's what it took, 10,000 hours to become an expert. And
looking back, it makes so much sense. Of course, that's what it was.
And so it ended up being that in 2011 we launched our first product. So 5 years after, and obviously there's a lot we learned after that, but yeah.
The concept of building it over 5 years, customer funded? So like they were just paying you to build each piece. You didn't take any capital cost to build any of it.
No, that's exactly what we did. And we knew that we wouldn't be able to take those pieces and ever stitch it into a product. We really, because when we launched the product, we rewrote it all from the beginning, but with the knowledge and insights that we gathered over the last 5 years. Now that you have that knowledge and you understand the end-to-end problem and the solutions that you need to make, like, it was much easier than to create a product and do it in like 6 months, because you already know all the solutions. You're just repackaging it and putting it all together as a cohesive single product that does it all, right?
This journey sounds very progressive. Like, it just continued to grow and grow, and it just made so much sense. Were there any times where you were like, wait, what's going on? What are we doing? Or like it hit a roadblock, or was it truly just perfectly?
No, you're always running into these various ceilings that you need to break through. And sometimes it's the crisis of just the scale and size. Sometimes it's the external things that you have to deal with. There's all kinds of, I think, problems we had to overcome over the years. And you know what, honestly, still have, because we've grown up to, I think we're not quite at 200 people today, but like 175 or so. And wow. So, as you grow the business, it's just different problems at a different scale. but I would say that if I look back, it's probably like, 2 years of sort of nice linear growth, like you said, and then you hit a bit of a plateau. And then if you can fix that problem and overcome what's sort of stopping you, then you get another couple of years of lift. And it's kind of like a step growth is what I would say.
It's like, congratulations, you made it to the next level. Here's new problems.
It is. It's like a video game. Yeah. We're
You've made
level
it
4 now.
that level 4, keep going. Do you think your experience and history from coming from Serbia influenced the way you have developed and grown your business and looked at life and work?
Yeah, 100%. Because, one thing that, and I think anybody who grows up in an environment where, you're dealing with sort of very, what I would call very serious and life altering problems and risks, it changes your perspective on what a crisis is and what's important. So, when you're worried about, there was a period of time in Belgrade in '99 when they were bombing the city, and you're not thinking about, like, your concern is, am I going to wake up tomorrow? It's not like it's very, very serious. Although, to be fair, that bombing was very targeted at military things. Like, there was really no civilian loss or anything, not at least in a massive scale. But you're still afraid, right? You're still worried about things like that. You never know, right? And ultimately, going through that experience, it really forces you to see problems in a different light, and you realize that all these business problems, like whatever, like it's just a problem. Like, it's not life or death. Sure, we'll deal with it. Something broke, we'll fix it. We've run across a problem that's difficult to solve. Like, it becomes almost like, well, these are fun problems. These are good problems that are leading to us getting better. It's not existential problems.
That's a powerful perspective. Fun problems. This problem's not going to kill me. It's just going to make us better if we overcome it.
Exactly. But I think it's really 100% true, because if you think about it, if you have that mentality, then I think that you turn sort of that stress into positive stress, where, hey, look, we're growing as a team. We're finding ways to operate better. And, when the customer is asking for something, or we, mess something up, that's just a learning moment to, okay, let's be better and not do this again.
Has this influenced the culture of the overall team as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you look at some of our core values and how we hire people and what we do, it really is like, I think the best compliment I ever got was from one of the team members that started with us this year in February. And he said, after about 2 or 3 months on the job, and I knew him from before, from the industry, I'm like, how's it going? Like, what's your feedback and all that? He's like, you know what? I feel like I've joined NASA. And I'm like, NASA? Like, how did you, like, what do you mean NASA? Like, where'd you get that from? He's like, no, what I mean is, it's a bunch of smart people who all want to do the right thing. And they're all focused on finding a solution to all these problems. Nobody's getting stressed out or not in a negative way where it's kind of becoming a problem and holding us back. Everybody's stressed out in a positive way where everybody's aware we're solving some difficult problems, but as a result, we're creating something that is meaningfully better and results in huge benefits to our customers. So he's like, this is really, really cool, because it's very focused, it's very organized, and team kind of works as a whole. So I think, it's one of those things, culture in the company, I think, is very much influenced by sort of where the founders are coming from and what kind of, how you establish yourself, especially in the early days. And I think that's what carried throughout the years. And one of our biggest, I'd say, focuses these days is to make sure we don't lose that as we grow. Because, you talk about different kinds of problems, when you're a team of 20, it's easy to manage that. When you're a team of 200, it's a little harder to manage that. And it's really important. So it's a different kind of a problem and a challenge.
You want to stay the NASA of automotive loan origination?
That's right. I shouldn't have said, should I?
I love it, though. I love it. So for this space, for automotive loan origination software, or rather actually the financial service industry, it really is heating up in many different ways. But how do you see the competition in the space? Is it getting competitive?
Well, everything is getting competitive. The way I say it, this might surprise you, but I really think of our competition and who's pushing us to do better is, I always say to my developers that, Apple and Google have ruined it for us because they've made everything so easy. And that's the expectation now. Like, that same user that's using our system, is also using, I don't know, an iPhone or an Android phone, and everything is just so easy. You just tap here, tap there, you know everything you need to know in 2 seconds, and your life is, it guides you, tells you what to do. Like, it's just super simple. And then you transition from that to a business system. And if that doesn't look and feel, I mean, probably can never look and feel quite as seamless, but if it's not kind of close to that, it jumps out at you. Like, you're like, well, what am I doing? Like, this looks terrible. Like, it's old, it's clunky, I hate it. Like, immediately your job satisfaction drops. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we use to push us forward. Not necessarily the competition in a traditional sense, but really trying to think of it from a perspective of what does that user experience in their day across all of the different things that they do, and how can we make sure that what we do is consistent with that and makes them feel like, yeah, this makes sense. I get it. It's intuitive. It feels good. Yes, I know that it's more complex, you know, but it's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. I've been seeing that across the board in other interviews that we've done. I'm sure those who have been listening to our series have heard that as well. Consumers have that expectation, and it now carries over to the B2B software space that
100%.
you're going to have a similar software. Now, for your team members, what's that environment like to constantly experiment and provide a space where they feel like they can try new things? Is it a company led? Is it individual led? How have you formed that structure for improvement?
It's you know, it's really, I would say there's three streams of work that we constantly follow and talk about. One is sort of the customer-led initiatives, because there are initiatives that our customers are asking for, pushing us for. Some of them are unique to specific groups of customers, some are unique to individual customers, but there is that sort of customer-driven improvement. And we have a dedicated amount of capacity focused on that. And you know, I can probably speak about this for 3 hours, but there's complexity to it. I'm just oversimplifying it a little bit. Then there is strategic work, which deals with, you know, what are some of the things that we think we're being innovative and we're learning from other industries, other examples that we can bring into our industry and make our product be unique and stand out, right? And that's another set of capacity. And then, unfortunately, there's a set of capacity allocated to fixing issues and problems and bugs, because, you know, our system, nature of our system is such that it sits almost at a like a central connecting point where we process data from many other systems, and being able to make it all work cohesively and in such a way that to a credit analyst who logs into our loan origination system, for example, that it all feels right. We're talking behind the scenes to like 30 different data providers and processing information, and you know, one change here can affect something else over there. And you know, they're not phoning somebody else, they're phoning us saying, hey, this doesn't work, and you know, we got to fix it and make it all work. So, and it's a very complex product, so you naturally have all the things you can improve and do better. So really, if you think of it from a improvement, customer-led, and strategic, those would be the three streams of work. And then I would say us as a company as a whole are kind of aware of that, and different people contribute in different, you know, areas, but it's not an individual led effort. It's very much planned and calculated. You know, what do we prioritize, what do we work on first, and keep all of the three streams moving, because, you know, you can't really not do the fixes and improvements, you can't ignore the customer side, and if you're ignoring strategic, which I suppose you could do, you're really then falling behind as a you know, you're not innovating anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, or is that what you were asking?
It does. Part of it is like how you look at your constant evolution and progress, and you've kind of nicely broken it down into three sections. I'm curious, how do you define your metrics of success?
Mm. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. We actually had a really interesting discussion the other day, and we haven't implemented this yet, so this is more future looking, but you know, we were looking at a solution that somebody proposed, and it became obvious that it was just internal discussion that solution would require, like, I don't know, 4 clicks to do something, where you really could have done it with 2, maybe even a single click, with a little bit of, you know, fancy UI and a bit of assumptions being made on what the intent of the user is. And we spent a good portion of the time talking about, why does that matter? Like, why does it matter that it's 3 clicks versus 1 click? And then we kind of did the math and broke it down into, well, how many records how many transactions we process per month, how many users are there, what does it mean to have 1 extra click or 2 extra clicks? And when you scale it up to the size that we're operating at, it is a massive impact. Like, it's just ginormous. what one extra click means in terms of people's effort and work. And so, we're really, what we're talking about now, and this is really fresh in my mind because it was just a few days ago, we're talking about, we really should be on a number of click reduction mission, like how can we reduce the number of clicks and simplify the process, and even start to measure that actively to be able to say, hey, look, on average, this is what it's taking to do the work. And then how can we, with every new release, have we reduced it? Have we made it better? And how much? And what contributed to that? Or the other way, if we made it worse, what did we do? How can we fix that and eliminate it, and so on and so forth? So I think ultimately that's the measure of success. How much of that business process are we automating really, and to continue to push in that direction. And as long as we do that, I think our customers are going to be very, very happy, because ultimately, one of their biggest costs is obviously how many people they need to do the work. And it's not about reducing. People always ask me, oh, so you're eliminating jobs and stuff. It's like, no, we're allowing you to do 10 times more work with the same amount of people.
It's technology can make things more efficient, and
Right.
it helps people become to be able to do more. I love the simplicity though, and the focus on that as a good metric. Let's just talk for a second about your industry, your target customers. You're focused on, you say, automotive industry. Are we talking like dealers? Is it those who are giving the money, the loans themselves? Help me understand again.
I mean, it's an interesting industry, but I would say typically our customers would be is anybody who's giving a loan. So it can be a private finance company, it can be a credit union, a regional bank, a national bank. It can even be a large dealer group. Sometimes large dealer groups will have an in-house finance portfolio. So essentially, if you're giving a loan, then you would be our customer,
Gotcha.
potentially.
And for the first long while, you've been focused on Canada specifically, is that correct?
That's right.
And in that ecosystem, but you're looking or are expanding beyond Canada?
Yeah, we're starting to do a lot of business in the US. I mean, we've been doing business in the US since probably 2013 or so, but in a I would say more one of our other products, not necessarily loan origination, but we have started to expand in the US on the loan origination side and loan management side, and we're seeing a tremendous amount of growth from that, and really good, like our product is resonating well with the lenders. Because ultimately, when you compare Canada and US from that perspective, it's exactly the same process. Like there's nothing different. We've looked at doing some business in Europe, and there are certain countries where the product does fit, but we found Europe to be very fragmented and very different from country to country, to the point where the amount of effort you need to do to make it work in a country, there's other markets that you can address that are bigger, and you'll get a bigger return for the same amount of effort.
Are you happy that you decided to run your own business?
Maybe because of the way we got into it, it just felt so natural and organic that it never felt like we really had a tough decision to make. It just sort of evolved in that way. I'd say that where we maybe, what I'm happy about is that we were not afraid of the challenge, and we were willing to be like, okay, we need to hire some people, fine, let's hire some people. We'll figure it out. Like, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're confident enough that we'll figure it out. And I think that that's what I'm really happy about, because it has created an environment over the last 15 years where you're constantly challenged, but there is a way to kind of step up and make it work. It really, I would almost compare it to sports, like you're getting better and better at a certain sport, and you're getting challenged, and you're growing, and you're kind of improving your skills, and you're kind of stepping up to the next level. And it feels very satisfying overall, right?
You and your wife,
Yeah.
family business, you could say. Any unique perspectives on running a business together with your spouse? Pros, cons, difficulties, lessons learned?
We talk about that a lot, and we get that question a lot. I always say I can't imagine doing it any other way, because I think it would be much harder in some ways. Because think about what you have to go through, and how many compromises and sacrifices you have to make along the way. The fact that we're in it together makes it so much easier, because if I need to be and this has literally happened, we were on a vacation in Greece, and I get a phone call, and I had to go to be in Toronto the next day. And if we're not in it together, then it's a much harder discussion. If we're in it together, she's like, yeah, you gotta go. So pack up your stuff and get out of here. So
Wow.
it just makes it a lot easier from that perspective, that she understands and I understand when she needs to do certain things, or when I need to do certain things. Why am I, away for the weekend, or why am I staying late? Like, it just makes the dynamic work a little bit better. I think you have kind of like a built-in support mechanism and system at home, right?
For some folks, it makes them stronger. I feel like others, it can drive them apart. But apparently that didn't happen to you, that you were able to find the right balance.
And you know what? And that's really what it is. It is about the balance, because there are times also where, it gets challenging in a sense that, it's hard to separate business from personal, because, we'd be, discussing something about work on Saturday at 9 p.m. because, we went out for a dinner, supposed to be a nice, relaxing thing. And next thing you know, half an hour into dinner, we're, talking about the work and the business, and it turns into like a work meeting. And then, I get upset. I'm like, look, I don't want to, I don't want to talk about work. And she's like, no, but this is important. You never have time for me. Like, okay, so fine, let's do it now. So it can get challenging too, but I think it is about the balance.
A personal dinner. Oh, it's all right. We'll pull out the business credit card. It was a business. But it's quite a balance. I appreciate that you recognize that. I guess you started to carve out proper timing for it.
You try to. I would say that we try to find that balance, but it's nowhere near 50-50. I think it's more like 75-25, where 75 is work.
But you both are on the same page, it sounds like, on your work ethic and push and drive for the business to move forward.
Well, she's the one that found me a job at Kodak and brought me to US, so
you're along for the ride. You're like, all right, honey, let's do this. Yeah. No, it's that team effort. I can tell that it's that built-in ability to be able to move forward. Do you guys have kids as well, or is it just?
Yeah. No, we have 2 daughters. We had kids very, very young. We had kids pretty much as soon as we moved to Oregon. So they're almost fully grown-ups now. Like, my older daughter is at 2nd year at university, and the younger one is grade 11, soon to go to university too. So yeah, it's been kind of a family journey. Like, I'll tell you one funny thing that literally this happened 2 weeks ago. We were talking about something, and my younger daughter, who is 16, she was talking about the weekend, and you could tell the way she was saying things that she was implying that the weekend was Sunday, like that's the non-working day. And I'm like, no, Saturdays are not working days either. It's like, no, they're not. I'm like, yes, they are. Saturday's a day off. I'm like, really? So like, we've kind of inadvertently, I think, messed up the kids as well, because literally she believed all the way now that Saturday is a working day and you're just doing work and normal things and stuff, because that's what we've done a lot. And yes, you're out and about a bit more, but you're still kind of working and being busy. So it carries into the family. I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing, but I don't know, maybe not.
If anything, the work ethic, you've just naturally given that to your children, that they assume, yeah, 6-day work week. That's just how you do it.
Well, think about how much more you can do.
There's the answer right there. Do you think this business will be a family business as well? Like, will they want to join you in this, or they be?
No, I don't see that. No, I don't think so. They have their own interests and their own journeys, and I wouldn't want that. I think that it's best for them to find their own way, honestly. Would we ever give them a job if they wanted to? Sure, but I kind of don't really. I think it's a different kind of challenge. I think they're better off carving their own path, honestly.
Mm-hmm. For you as a leader, both of this organization and in the past, if you think back to your previous constructive feedback that you've received, anything that you can share, because we're always trying to improve ourselves, but what's a nugget that someone shared with you?
Oh, that's a very difficult question, because there's a lot of that. I was really lucky, and both of us were very lucky that we found some great mentors along the way. Like the original team from, I told you about that finance company that was our first customer, and we've helped them achieve a 10x growth. The entire leadership team from that company, at least 4 of the founders actually, ended up joining our company as board members and shareholders in 2012. And all 4 of them have been, great mentors, specifically 2 of them who were very involved operationally. And there's just without them, I don't think that we'd be here, because there was there was somebody there who you could go and talk to, and who's been there, done that, solved those problems, and sort of gave you a really good advice, but very direct and very real, telling you when no, this is you, it's not somebody else, versus no, it's somebody else, this is how you fix it. And can I think of something specific? Oh God, like there's so much. Trying to think of a story. I always think in stories. Well, I'll give you one. This is a kind of a fun story. We were doing business with a very large international company in the US, and we went there together, and I brought in it was not just me, it was me and a bunch of other team members, and the whole trip was actually led by one of our main shareholders, because it was a bigger business venture overlapping with some of the other things they were doing. And there's like 5 of us meeting this company, and they have like literally 50 people in a room, and the room is just ginormous to see that many people. And so you immediately feel overwhelmed, and there's this whole thing. And the way that he handled that meeting and how he sort of positioned us, we were literally acting as if we are bigger than them, even though this is a massive company. And he totally was willing to back out of a deal, walk away, and not accept any terms that were not reasonable. Like, we were not trying to push our agenda, but we didn't want to be kind of, brushed off and pushed over, because it would put us in a very difficult position. And it got to the point, they were so heated that they had to separate us and ask us to leave the room and, go to a different room so they can have their own meeting. And I come out of the room and I'm like, man, this is going terrible. Like, and he looks at me, he's like, what do you think about that? He's completely, controlling the environment and the situation, and kind of doing it on purpose to draw a line in the sand that there are things we're not willing to accept. Like, I don't care how big you are and who you are. We know what we're doing. There's a reason why we're doing it this way. We believe in what we do, and we're willing to stand by it. And if that means we can't do business together, well, then that's what it means. And it really taught me an important lesson in terms of, sticking to what you know and what you believe is true, and what you build your company around. Because once you start to compromise around those key things and key pillars, it leads to nothing good. Because yes, you've taken on this massive contract, but in the process, you're weakening the company, not strengthening it. And if they are the right partner, they will recognize that our position is reasonable, and we get to do business on terms that are good for everybody. And that was a really, really big learning moment.
That's powerful. What year did that happen?
This was 2012. So 2012. Yeah.
Okay. So many more opportunities since then, I'm sure, to apply that lesson.
Well, to really drive that kind of culture in the business, that everybody feels empowered. That yes, maybe we're not the largest software company in the world, and definitely we're not. But we know why we're doing certain things a certain way, and we're not going to compromise. And if you think about it, what that led to, in many ways, kind of indirectly, is that our product today is a single code-based product across all of our customers, all geographies. It doesn't matter if you're a small private finance company or a large international bank that has 100,000 employees. You're using the same exact product. There is no customization of the product. And there's a way to achieve that if you're sticking to your guns. Because you can imagine when you go meet with a company that's this massive bank, they're like, oh, you should do this and that. And it's easy to kind of be like, oh, okay, we'll make it happen. It's really hard to say, no, I don't think we're going to do that.
That is very difficult, especially for SaaS companies that are going after enterprise clients. The natural tendency is, well, okay, we'll customize it for you.
Work, yeah.
But you didn't.
No, absolutely never. We do not customize for anybody. There is no, like, we make that very clear in the beginning. This is our product. This is what it does. There is ways we can do what you want to do. But what we will do is, for example, let's say they've discovered something that we didn't think of. We're like, okay, great. What you're describing is a single use case. What we're going to do is we're going to take that away, figure out what is an entire class of similar use cases, and then we'll create a configuration in our system that's generic, that allows you to configure it to solve what you need to solve, but it doesn't put our product in a way that it's solving one specific thing. And then guess what? Down the road, somebody else will have a similar problem and they can reuse the same configuration to solve it in a slightly different way. And what it does is it solves their problem, but it also makes our product better and stronger. Yes, it does cost more maybe, and it does take a bit more time and effort. So that's where you get the pushback, but we stick to our guns and we don't let that happen. And it really pays off massively long term.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Learned. It does. It does. What are you most excited about looking ahead from here?
Well, I think I'm speaking probably both for Daniela and me, my wife. I think it's one of those journeys where your priorities change and the way you look at the business changes and really, I would say for the next few years, what we're really excited about is seeing how many leaders are stepping up inside of the business and how much accountability and responsibility they're taking on, so that it's not just us. And that's a really, really cool feeling when you see the team sort of work as a team and not depend on me or Daniela to give direction, and kind of how much people are growing and how much momentum that creates and how much we can deliver as an organization, really just eliminating those bottlenecks and empowering the team to do what's the right thing to do, obviously within the sort of that culture and then the approach that we believe is the right way. I don't know, to me that's the most exciting, to see how much can we accomplish. Like, imagine, in the early days it was just me and Daniela, but now if you have 20, 30 people in the company that are of the same mindset and driving the same and have the same dedication and willingness to do the work that needs to be done, how much can we accomplish? Like how much of the market can we actually take, and how much can we improve the process for everybody along the way? So that's really the exciting part. I don't know where that leads and how big it gets, but the unknown is kind of the fun part.
What a journey that you've been on and already continue to go forward on. For those that want to learn more about Inovatec, you can head over to Inovatec.com. That's Inovatec, Inovatec.com. Thank you, Vlad, for spending this time sharing this journey that you've been on and some of the stories. I imagine there's a whole lot more. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.